So one of the concepts that I found is really important for understanding about manifesting, for our manifesting purposes here. And if you've watched the videos on, so for instance, our physical, non-physical map of the present moment, and especially our experience triangle, right? So in our experience triangle, what we're talking about is that what we see, as motion out here is really chunks of information. And we take in these chunks of information, and our mind processes this information and literally creates our experience of life. And then it takes another chunk and it processes that, and another chunk and it processes that. And so I find as we understand this, it really changes our understanding and our relationship with time. So I'd like to draw just a little map for you that I know it really helps me understand really how I experience time, and especially the role it plays in our manifesting. So I'm just going to draw a bit of a map for you, okay? And so the first portion of this map is going to be how I used to, and maybe how people typically understand their relationship with time. So the way they look at time is, time basically goes in a straight line in one direction. And so this is time. And it goes in a straight line in one direction. And we are essentially, think of it as a railway track, and we are essentially on this railway track. And of course, because this railway track and it goes in one direction, we're riding on the train on this railway track. So we're going in one direction. Why are we going one direction? Because we're on the train on this track, right? And behind us is the past. Ahead of us is the future. And so because we're on this track, on a rail car, if you will, going in one direction, the past is quite literally behind us, right? And we can't really experientially get to the past because it's behind us, and and this train is only going one direction, right? And the future is, if you will, ahead of us. And so until the car that we're on, that's on this track going in one direction, gets to the future, we really can't get to that either. And so then our present moment is essentially right here. So our present moment is there's the rail car that's on this track going in one direction. All right? This is how I look at time, and I suggest that you frame your understanding of time as it relates to the concepts that we've talked about now in this workshop, and how it really changes, and I find really improves the effectiveness of our manifesting efforts. Okay, this is how I experience time, and I suggest that you look at it. We are in the present moment, right? And we talked about the present moment in several ways, and one of them when we zoomed in using our physical, non-physical map, right? So this is the present moment. And we are in the present moment, of course, as we talked about that, right? And the past, which is here, where do we experience the past? Think of our thought pies, right? So the past is really pictures or movies, right? That when we focus on them, we feel different flavors of sensations that we now know is what we call an emotion, right? So we experience the past. Where do we experience it? In this present moment. Right? And the future, again, using our thought pies, what's the future? Well, it's a thought. What are thoughts? What is the future? It's a movie or picture that plays out in our mind, or voices or dialogues, right? But where do we experience the future? We experience it, again, in the present moment. So we are in one place, if you will, and we experience the past or the future in this place. So you see, and there's a big difference. If you kind of notice, on our first understanding of time, time is the deciding factor, right? It goes in one direction, and we don't decide, right? So much about the past and the future. We're on this rail car, right? And this rail car leaves the past going towards the future. And we really don't get to decide, if you will. Now slip down to this other one, and it's really interesting in that in this map, I haven't actually used the word time, isn't it? But when you think about it, really, our experience is pictures or movies, the past, of which we experience here, memories, pictures or movies, we call a reverse memory or a pre-lived future. Where do we experience that? In the present moment. So this moment is really a mixing pot of the past and the future that we experience here. And I find for me having this understanding, which when you think about it is actually in many respects more accurate, than the other one, right? Is it really frees up a lot of and releases a lot of those limitations in our manifesting efforts. Okay? So a good homework assignment, and this is what I do often, is just take the time and change the way you look at time. We aren't on this railway track. We are in this moment, and you are experiencing the past and or the future in this moment. Perfect. All right. Thanks.